was this afternoon. So as soon as he jumps on, I'll have him to introduce himself. Are there any other questions? Because we can ask these again. I'm sure Mr. Jackson can answer them a little bit better than I have. But are there any other questions or thoughts so we can put it out there so that they can get tackled? Any other questions or thoughts, or I mean, what do you need as it relates to business credit? Okay, and I'm gonna do a co-host. Mr. Jackson's on the line. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Thanks, Frida, for sharing earlier. And thanks, Ray. So, Mr. Jackson, how are you? Sorry we got this time mixed up.
I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, I thought it was at 2 o'clock. I'm planning for 2. Here I am on another conference. And just to support her. Okay. Let me eliminate this. Just a second.
Okay. So we have about 17 people, 16 people on the line with us today. And I just kind of had them ask some questions about some things that maybe you can cover when you kind of recap some of the other stuff we talked about. So we have people that have asked questions about how to build business credit. How does the FICO score work with business credit? So we've been talking about business credit. And then also, once I have my business credit card and my checking and all of that, what are the next steps to continue to build good credit? So I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Just a second.
Okay. And I shared my screen, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it here. So only have that because I came in thinking it was at our meeting was supposed to be at 2 o'clock. That's what I had set the calendar for because we had the last meeting at 2. But I guess that was my mistake, and I do apologize for that. So we only got 10 minutes left. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I had scheduled it for today for 11 to 1.
Okay.
I left enough questions, so I think if you kind of recap some things and talk about some things, and particularly people asking about business credit, there may be some questions, so okay. They'll hang out with us.
Okay, I'll do a recap of I guess kind of what I talked about from last week and questions about business credit. If you guys got questions, I can definitely answer those right now. So as it relates to business credit, the establishment of business credit is not difficult at all. It just requires your foundation to be in the right position. And what I mean by that is for those of you who are operating businesses right now under a sole proprietorship, you would not be able to build business credit because you're using your social security number as it stands now. What you need to do is establish a separate entity from yourself, whether it be a LLC, whether it be a C Corp, where you take the X election with the IRS. What's also important is that with business credit, you have to understand what it is. So building business credit is similar to building your personal credit, but it's actually a completely separate system. Business credit is regulated a lot differently than what you all would see as far as with your personal credit. It's loosely regulated. So just as individuals have personal credit scores that are simply meant to represent your credit worthiness, businesses have business credit scores to represent the company's sort of credit worthiness. Business credit is pretty much the ability of your business to borrow money or make business purchases on a deferred payment basis. So it's pretty much based on the company's ability to repay its creditors and the obligations. So your personal credit scores are tracked by your social security number. Your business credit scores are tracked by your EIN, employer identification number. Okay. So when it comes to the foundation for building business credit, you have to establish first the name of your business. And you have to understand with the name of your business, you have to make sure that it doesn't conflict with any other business names. Most times the state won't allow you to take on the same business name or similar business name as another entity. So definitely looking at what the name of your business is very important as it relates to that. But also make sure that that name or that type of business that you have is not trademarked, copywriting from other states. You have to look at not just your state, but other states when you're incorporating. I've ran into some issues where a client didn't establish the name of their business yet, and what they did was go get the EIN number for that business name, and come to find out there was another business that had the same name. So they got an EIN number that they're not supposed to have under someone else's business name. So imagine how that looks, right? So you definitely want to establish the business name first and incorporating with the state first before you apply for EIN first, and not you have to mix the two. So establishing a name, getting incorporated with that name separate from your personal is very vital as it relates to that. Also, along with your business name is your domain name. Your domain name is what you would get from any third-party hosting site, such as like your GoDaddy, HostGator. You got Bluehost, different companies that will that you buy your website name from. This is very important when it comes to creating or having or establishing a separate email. You're going to have to own that domain and prove that you own that domain before you can set up a business email address. This is usually a premium service that is offered by the hosting companies, or you can use G Suite for that matter. So the domain name, you definitely want to make sure that the domain name is not overly long. You definitely want to know that if you're out there doing business, make sure your website is set up correctly and that you're not using any other additional services other than what you applied for in your business. So for example, you say you're looking for business funding from a bank or trying to get signed up for some service or program, and you provide your website. If you're in real estate and they go to your website and you selling Polishes and hot dogs, that's a whole different, service. It's a whole different industry. It's a whole different service. So you're not really advertising the true information of what your business provides. So you definitely don't want to get hit with a red flag, and they will not fund you depending on some of the criteria. There's over 20 criteria that you need to be aware of, but also that domain name with that website, you definitely want to make sure that the correct information is being represented. It's almost required nowadays to have a website. It's very important that your website or your business has an online presence so that it's like a resume for your business, if you will. So if you're signing up for services to get business credit, or if you're signing up for services to get funding, it's definitely something that they're going to go to, as well as businesses, and anybody can search up your business credit profile. So they can go to Dun& Bradstreet, they can go to the D&B Hoover, they can go to Experian or any of these other companies, these business credit bureaus, to look at your profile as it pertains to your business credit. They can look at your business credit profile, and it will reveal all the information such as your name, the type of industry you're in, do you have employees, your contact information, the revenues you've generated, what accounts that you have. So it'll look at all of your information pertaining to your business, and there's a score associated with having business credit. What most of us know as consumers is that our personal credit ranges from a FICO standpoint, it ranges from 300 to 850. For business, it ranges from 0 to 300. I'm sorry, 0 to 100 for Experian, Equifax, and Dun & Bradstreet, and 0 to 300. Okay, so that's the difference when it comes to that. And the biggest thing with building up the credit score for the business is to definitely pay the creditors on time. Uh, you get more points if you pay the same day. So there's a structural. If I can, let me see if I can share my screen to kind of show you from a score standpoint. Here's what it would look like. Let me see. Do I have the ability to share my screen? Yes, I do. Okay.
Let's see. Hold on.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what it looks like from a point standpoint. So Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax are 0 to 100 as it relates to that, and FICO is 0 to 300. You see the difference? What they're all concerned about, if you look in the major determining factors, is promptness of payments. So when we look at promptness of payments, you either pay, if it's a net 30 account, net 30 would mean that you pay within 30 days or on the 30th day, right? What you want to do is pay literally the same day that you use the service. So if you got a store credit card with Best Buy and you charge $250 that day, and it's showing a balance on your store credit card, your store vendor credit, you want to pay that in the same day. You get the full amount of points, right? If you pay on time, you only get 80 points of that 100. If you pay early or on the same day, you get the 100 points. If you pay within 15 days of that due date or half, you get 90 points. And I'll break down the scores in the later slides. So here's another way to look at it, from what's poor to what's fair to what's good. As it relates to Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and FICO, they all have different ranges. You'll see that they're not all the same when it comes to what's good, what's fair, and what's poor. Poor seems to be consistent, but FICO is the main one that looks pretty different. And when it comes to the reporting, this is one of the most important slides that you need to really take a picture of. So this is how they score. So now look at payment is prompt, meaning on time. See, they only give you 80 points. They only give you a portion of the full picture. 80 and above is ideally where you want to be. 80 and above is where you want to be. Payment comes early with an early discount. Let's say it's a net 30 and you pay on the 15th. That's where that, or before the 30th. On the 15th or before the 30th, that's where the payment comes with an early discount period. You get the 90 points. But if you pay, payment came early or on that same day, you get the full 100 points. That is a huge difference when you guys are building business credit. As it relates to, let me go back to the points because I know I ain't got that much time. All right, so talked about that. When it comes to the business address, I know this is the one that gets a lot of people. If you can avoid it, do not use a P.O. box address, especially when incorporating. It will be a red flag that comes up. It'll say, what are you trying to hide? You know, that's usually the case. What are you trying to hide? Right. I understand we want to be private. We want to show that, you know, we have the brick and mortar, we have the virtual office. Those are actual good things to have as far as the business address. But when it comes to the home address or P.O. box, it can sometimes be seen as a red flag. Now, you don't have to have that business address forever. You can eventually update your files and begin to update the address along with that. There are two addresses you can have. You can have the business address, where the business is located, and you can have a mailing address where the mail goes. So you can definitely have a distinction between the two as it relates to that. So with the business address, you definitely want to, if you are able to do so, have a virtual office or actual brick and mortar or a private office to where you rent a particular space, or you can temporarily have a home address temporarily, and then when you're able to, and you're making enough volume and income, volume and revenue for the business, eventually graduate up to the business address. I know there's a lot of people doing home-based businesses. There are tax writable means of getting tax write-offs based on square footage in the home. There's a certain amount of foot that you can designate for the home. I want to say it's between 300 to 400 feet. Don't quote me on that. I believe that is what the IRS mandates as home, the maximum square footage that you can have for the home-based business. As far as choosing business entity type, I talked about you have to have something separate from your personal. So you need to have an LLC, a C Corp, S Corp, or any other, even a nonprofit can also build business credit as well. Federal tax ID number and EIN number, of course, you want to incorporate first before you get the EIN number and attach it to the entity. As it relates to telephone services, what I have to say about that is, for those of you that know of people with, they use your personal as their business address, you want to try to avoid this as much as possible. Even if you can't afford one at the initial stages of setting up your business, you can get a Google number, have a separate number that'll go directly to your personal phone, but never use the telephone, never use your personal for your business as well. Don't use both. Here's an example of what I went through. I had a client a potential client, someone I was trying to do business with, and they had on their business card, they had their personal phone number, and you don't know until you actually dial. So when I called to get the services and learn more about the business, they treated me like someone they already knew. They responded, "Who is this?" And I'm like, well, I kind of was like, okay. I asked, "Is this the wrong number? I was looking for such and such with these services and business." And they were so sorry. They responded a certain way because they didn't recognize the number, right? So you definitely, lo and behold, I end up not doing business with that particular person. So you definitely want to separate personal from business, have a separate number, eventually get you a 1-800 number with the different departments that it would go to. It would definitely look more professional, especially look more professional when lenders, if you're trying to look for funding from different lenders. Email address. Oh my goodness, this is so important. When it comes to the email address, initially we will all use our free email service. If you're going to use a free email service, you create a separate one specifically for the business. So instead of me using my Anterio Jackson at gmail.com, I can use credithonor@gmail.com. Initially, it's free. And once I have more than, I have money coming in, you can get a professional email address. It's only $6 a month. G Suite. And you can create as many alias email addresses. So instead of aj@credithonor.com, I can create info@credithonor.com. I can create customer service. I can create billing at info@credithonor.com. So it's ways you can do that, especially if you're trading or exchanging personal information with clients, like you're receiving documents. You definitely want to have a premium service so that you have more security and you can be able to negate any hacking or any subscription from things of that nature, so that you won't get spammed in your business email. It's definitely, your email, if it's paid for, it's definitely treated a lot differently than when it's free. Okay, so you definitely want to have those security systems set up within that email address to protect you and to protect your clients if you're sharing confidential information. Businesses, business license, permits, and bonds. This is, of course, you would know. If you don't know, you definitely want to look at your state to see what licenses are required, what permits and bonds are required. I know because I distribute insurance, it requires me to have a bond. And because I deal with credit repair and business credit, it requires also a bond, requires me to have a bond as well. Usually permits for when you're doing like construction or any other type of specific industry where it revolves around building, usually, and business licenses for those that have maybe restaurant, maybe selling merchandise services that may require business licenses, and of course other industries. Because I'm in financial services, it requires a bond and a license to be licensed in life and health insurance. So it requires a license as well. So knowing what your licenses requires, I know exactly that when you guys are applying for grants or applying for loans, sometimes they may ask for your business licenses, maybe ask for your permit or bonds to make sure that you're in compliance and that you're in good standing in order to get such items that you're trying to apply for. When it comes to merchant account setup, this is very important. And I know a lot of us may use PayPal, may use Venmo, Cash App for different merchant account services. When it comes to setting up your bank account, it's very important. So when you're setting up your bank account, the day you start your bank account is considered the day your business has started. Okay? It's not you incorporated 30 years ago and left it on the back burner. No, the day that you start a business banking account is the day your business starts. And I know you're probably looking at me like, what? That's not true. That's not true. Ask the person, ask the a funding person when it comes to your incorporation, when the business starts, they're gonna know. All right. So you definitely want to have your business set up with a bank. What it will require is to not only have your EIN, but to first be registered with the state that you're doing business in. And they're going to check for certification of good standing or compliance with the state first. Depending on the bank that you use, some may not require you to be structured with the state. Some may require just the EIN. It just depends on the bank that you go to. But as far as merchant account setup, point of sales or gateway. Point of sales really speaks to you actually having a brick and mortar, maybe a credit card machine where they make transactions and you take payment. Gateway would be considered an online version of that, where you take payments online or virtually, right? So what can be considered both would be if you ever went to like vending events and they had their phone and a little square device hooked up to their volume jack inserter for where their earphones go, and you swipe, that will be considered not only a point of sales but also a gateway, because it's using the internet to screen for the payment system, and it also a hand-to-hand transaction. So merchant account setup is very important. I have a few merchant account providers. If you want that information, I can definitely provide that. And when it comes to building of the business credit, I've talked about most of what I would talk about today, just in a high-level overview of stuff. When it comes to building business credit, you have to apply for vendor accounts. Vendor accounts is nothing but a line of credit that is extended to your business by a company who expects to be paid in 15, 30, 60, or 90 net days, okay? So you have a purchase limit and a time frame to repay the company. And before applying for vendor credit, ensure that the vendor reports to one or more of the major nationwide business credit bureaus. You want them to report to one or more or two or more if they can. Here's the reason why you want to know if they report, because you will benefit from when you make purchases and they send you an invoice, you will benefit by having them report on your behalf. Now, understand you have to do business with them in order for them to report, because it costs them money to report. The minimum cost to do business and to do, for most businesses, for them to report is about $50 to $100 or more. Right? So $50 to $100 or more, you have to do business. There's a certain way you apply for the application to get those vendor accounts. Do not put your personal information as far as your social security number on those business applications if you know that you're trying to do business as a business, right? I've got people that set up their accounts, use their personal account, and they get the credit card, they get the secure credit card or the vendor credit card in their business name, but it's reporting to their personal. Or it's not reporting at all, meaning they didn't put in the right information on the application. You have to understand that some vendors may not have updated their applications to reflect as such because most of their customers are personal, right? Not a lot of business. So a benefit would be, instead of using your personal, let's say you all are going to Home Depot and you've been a customer all your life, and when you apply for a vendor account, you get 10% off of all materials because you're a business. They know that you're going to be repeating business, so they want to earn your business as much as possible. So by knowing these different strategies, it definitely helps to not only build your business credit, but make you aware of this is how you should be doing business. You're not supposed to be doing business with your personal. You should negate that and do all your business dealing under the business name so that you're not personally liable, right? So what you want to do is you want to try to get a minimum of at least 5 vendor accounts open, reporting to the business credit bureaus. Do not put a lot of emphasis in the vendor in the initial stages. The goal is to establish the credit first. For example, for those with personal credit, you all have to start somewhere. You all have to start with usually a secure credit card. You couldn't get an unsecured credit card initially. Right, you have to start somewhere, either a secure credit card or a credit builder loan or being an authorized user on someone else's credit. You had to have started somewhere. So this is the same thing. You have to start somewhere to get to where you need to go. You can't apply for the bigger accounts where you get the cash limit credit cards, the store credit cards, the vendor credit cards for the business. You have to start initially somewhere and before you can get to the bigger accounts. The reason why is that when you apply for the bigger accounts, they're going to ask you directly, do you have at least 5 or 6 vendors on your credit before you apply to us? Right? They're going to ask that. They're going to require that before you apply for them to see what their history is. And they're going to check your business record as well to see that you're telling the truth. So, vendor accounts typically can take up to 3 net or 30 billing cycles, meaning 30 to 90 days before it starts building a credit score. Just like you use your personal credit cards to build business credit, to build your personal credit, they have to report. So when they report, it's going to take a few cycles before they can report. So you have to set it up so that you have at least 3 separate payment transactions with the vendor for reporting purposes. Definitely knowing this information, it's important to remember that business credit is a process that can take 2 to 6 months realistically. All right. Ensure that you have the correct name, the correct address, contact information is used on the application. Attempt to pay your vendor accounts in net 15 if possible within 15 days or on the same day. The quicker that you pay, the better. The quicker that you pay, the better your score. Pay your accounts in full as well. You don't leave balances on charge accounts, right? Some vendors will open an account with as little as an EIN and a 401 listing. Some vendors will require a little bit more depending on who you apply to. When choosing from the list of vendors, if an active credit file is required, move on to the next vendor, all right? Since the credit file will be relatively blank, some vendors may request that you prepay your initial order. All of your orders need to be a minimum purchase amount of $50 or more. Remember, don't use your social security number if the application asks for your social security number only. I'm gonna read that again. Don't use your social security number if the application asks for your social security number only. Print it and write your DUNS number and or your EIN number on the application, all right? To get a DUNS number is free. You go to the Dun & Bradstreet website. Usually they're gonna try to sell you on one of their packages. It's going to be about $700 to $800. They're going to try to sell you on one of their packages. It is not required to buy anything for them. You can get your DUNS number free. For those of you who are doing business with the government, the first business bureau that they're going to look at is Dun & Bradstreet. That's who they go to first, all right? So that's very important. Also, for those of you operating that have a separate entity, such as your LLC, C Corp, S Corp, you're least likely to get audited. all right, by the IRS. For those of you operating with sole proprietorships, you're 50 times more likely to get audited versus having a separate entity of incorporation. All right, so understand that as well as that point. So here's some starter vendors that I've compiled that you can start with. You can apply for 3 or all 6 if you like. Uline, Quill, Gimplar, Seton, Granger, HD Supply, and Print Country are usually the go-to. These types of accounts are very easy to establish. This will be some of the vendors that you definitely want to go to as it relates to building your business credit. Remember, do not put a lot of emphasis and importance into who you apply to initially. The goal is for them to submit to the bureaus on your behalf and report that you at least have credit, vendor credit, and then you can apply to the other vendor accounts that are much higher, much more of what you want. For example, there's a trucking company, that, 2 trucking companies that I work with that wanted to get gas cards from either Marathon or Love's, but before they can apply for those, they have to have starter vendor credit. So we got them accounts with Love's and with Marathon to reduce, not only they get huge discounts on their gas and diesel, but they also get points and rewards back for using specifically their service when they're out traveling and doing shipments. So you need to understand the importance when you're building the business credit is to definitely know, what you're dealing with as far as what vendor accounts you want to apply for and benefit from those particular vendors. When you all look at this process, it's not difficult at all. It's just understanding, between the two. Business is a little different from your personal, and you have to know that the foundation of business credit relies, you can build business credit without a personal guarantor. You don't have to have established personal credit to build your business credit. However, if you are looking for business funding, right? Business funding is different from business credit. When you're looking at business funding, it's a lot of different criteria that they look at as it relates to that, right? So they don't care that you have business credit. They want to look at, you can't go out here and say, oh, I want $100,000 loan when I only got 3 vendors showing on my credit, and I'm only paying $50 a month, for them to report. That's not a lot, So when you're looking for business funding, yes, it most likely will require a personal guarantor. Meaning, if you should default on the debt and not meet your obligations, you will be personally liable for those debts. That's what it means to be a personal guarantor. Now, understand that you definitely want to build up your personal credit while building your business credit. And I can definitely help with both of those and give you a clear picture of everything that's going on with your credit file. If you just show me your credit report, not Credit Karma. Credit Karma does not do it. It doesn't show you all 3 bureaus, and it's showing a VantageScore 3.0 scoring model. Understand that it's a marketing site. It's not a full credit monitoring service, okay? They get paid by seeing things you apply for, and they get paid by giving you offers. So recommending that you get a secure credit card, loan, or unsecured credit card. So when you're building the business credit, you definitely should be building your personal credit right behind that. So when you apply for business funding with certain lenders, you're going to have that tight and ready to go. But you also, for business funding, you definitely want to understand what industry you're in. You definitely want to make sure that you're cash flowing depending on what the requirements are. They're going to look at tax returns. They're also going to look at what is your overall debt, what accounts you have. There's so much other criteria that they're going to look at pertaining to business funding, not that. For anyone in service businesses, I always give this example of business credit when it pertains to Walmart and how people should definitely utilize your business credit. Even if you don't need it, you still can be able to leverage your business credit, and you get 10 times as much more money versus having personal credit for that matter. So an example I like to use is Walmart. Most people don't know that Walmart operates 100% business credit, right? So what Walmart is nothing but a storage space. People with their mom and pop businesses have their products and they apply to Walmart to put their products on their shelves. In return, Walmart charges them a fee or a percentage on the sales of their products to have their products on their shelves. That's how their business, that's one of the ways of how their business model works. But they also operate 100% business credit. So here's an example I like to use. Walmart has a credit line of $1 million. They wish to buy a bulk order of Gatorade, 1 million bottles of Gatorade for 10 cents a bottle. Gatorade gave them a discount. So 1 million bottles times 10 cents is $100,000. So they use $100,000 of that credit line. They have $900,000 left. They sell each bottle for $1, hypothetically, in our neighborhoods. They make $1 million profit. They pay back the $100,000 in credit line, and they profit $900,000. They paid the credit line back and profited $900,000 without spending any of their own money. So you tell me anybody in those service businesses that do sell hair, that sell different consumer goods and services, you think you wouldn't benefit from having business credit? Of course not. You all would benefit from having business credit. Even if it's just purchasing supplies or laptop or equipment, you still can benefit from having business credit. It doesn't require you to have anything else. You just need to have it established, so that it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, is what I'm saying. Walmart's average gross profit in the last 5 years was about 486 billion. And of that 486 billion, once they paid all expenses, they pocketed personally net about 75 to 80 billion. And they didn't even use none of their own money. Why do you think they can close so fast and leave so fast? Because the products they have in there is not theirs. They don't own it. They just get a piece of everything that's sold. They're just selling the space on the shelves, mind you. So it's a different reality. It's a different space when you're talking about this. Not a lot of people are aware of business credit. And I'm definitely glad to have you guys on the call. Again, that is my mistake. I do apologize for not reading up on the time. I thought it was going to be 2 o'clock like it was 2 days ago. That is my mistake. And I don't mind doing another presentation personally for those that want to see it in full totality. But everything I discussed right now is pretty much the presentation, just at a much more higher level, and not having to go through all the slides and repeat some of the information. But that is the presentation and how to build a business credit. So.
Great. I think we have some questions on the chat. So I don't know if you kind of covered those.
Okay, so I think I see it.
I can read them.
How can somebody resolve or remove late payment on the credit report if settled with a creditor? Ganiu Dada, is that pertaining to personal or business credit? I have to know if that question pertains to personal or business credit. While you're replying, I'll look at another question. Kevin and Frida Madison, what process you need to view your business credit? So there are multiple ways you can view your business credit. You can go to Experian business credit. You can view it that way. You can go to Dun & Bradstreet and view your business credit. I'm sure, of course, it's going to be a fee. You can go to nav.com, nav.com. That allows you to not only view your business credit, but also personal credit at the same time. So it'll give you both reports at the same time, all the bureaus. Nav.com, nav.com. I'm going to type it here in the chat. So you said medical debt for my son. So somebody was involved in movement late on the credit report is settled with the creditor. So if you settle the debt with the creditor, This is medical debt for your son, so this is a personal credit question. So yes, all information can be removed. It just depends on the process and what you're using. Most consumers use the dispute method, where when you dispute something, you're disputing the validity of the item being reported. Whereas a challenge, I'm challenging how it's reported versus if it's yours or not, right? So I've been trained and paid over $30,000 in fees to learn my craft. And it's a lot that I learned, but yes, I can help if I am able to see your credit report. Of course, there's no guarantee, and if any credit repair company guarantees your results, they're operating in fraud. All right, so there is no guarantee. They can't force the bureau to do something, right? That is a straight up bold-faced lie. That's the reason why I got into business, is to tell the truth, right? And my slogan is truth, trust, and transparency, because I've been a victim of identity theft. I've been a victim of having to put stuff in my name for people that I thought cared about myself and my well-being, only to be taken advantage of in the end. So I got started in this industry of credit to not only teach people the truth about not only what credit is, but they're only given a fraction of the information. I'm able to go in deep based on what questions that you have. I can answer most credit questions because I've been extensive in training. There's still stuff that I'm still learning about credit as time goes on. There are new laws that are being passed that you all don't know, and things of that nature. So how much is it for the email address again, and where I pay? So right now, if you need help with this, Kevin and Frida Madison, I can help you set up your G Suite account. It requires you to have your domain name, and that'll only be $6 a month instead of 18. So you're paying over 250% right now. Do you design websites, LaTroy Curry? Yes, I do. Kevin and Frida, so are you asking it's okay if we ask for both SSN? So are you saying it's okay if they ask for both social security number and EIN? Yes, it's okay, but understand that you want to speak to management, somebody who definitely processes the application and accepts. You want to talk to somebody. Hey, I need a vendor application specifically for the business. Don't go on their website and fill out the information as is. Call them to ask for a vendor application so that you can apply for vendor credit with them. But you want to make sure first, before you ask for the application, is to make sure that they do report to at least one or more bureaus. Okay. We are disputing it now through a lawyer because we had medical insurance then. Okay. So let me know how that pans out. If you're disputing it, let me know how that pans out, and I'd like to learn more of your story, if necessary, to go over what that looks like. I definitely want to know if you have any more questions regarding that. Anybody have any more questions that they want to ask of me at this point in time? I'm definitely here and available.
Okay, any more questions? All right, I think you did a great job. So if there aren't any more questions?
Yep, she asked what my fee for building business credit. Just a second, let me go to my website. So
I would encourage everybody to that if definitely there's some things that Mr. Jackson can help you with. He's going to put in his website as well as his website address to reach out to him, fill out that inquiry form that he has on his website so that you can kind of talk to him personally one-on-one and get all your questions answered, as well as the services that he offers. So in the chat box, you should be able to see the phone number and the email address.
yeah, as it pertains to business credit, I give you access to all of the existing Now you have to understand, there's only 3% of vendors that report on the business credit. 90%, 97% of them don't report. unless you don't meet the obligation and pay your bills. They'll report you wrong, but they won't report on the good stuff. So pricing is on my website as it relates to this. If it's a one-time payment, I also do the business credit, help you set up the business credit, but I also do 12 months of Metro 2 compliance credit repair. So you get best of the both worlds regarding that. People say, oh, that's too pricey. I said, well, if I'm helping you get $100,000 in line of credit, is that too much? And they quietly slow down and say, you're right. So I could be charging a lot more, about $4,997 for this information, but I've reduced it over time to definitely give people a chance to not only help them build it, but also you'll have access to my business funding portal in the inside of that. So you'll be able to apply for business funding at no additional cost as it relates to that. And my team will work with you regarding that process. So any other questions that I can answer at this point in time? I love these questions. Again, I don't like being late, and I did not remember that it was 11 o'clock. I thought it was at 2, and that was my mistake. So please.
It's okay. I think Ray helped fill in some things early on, and I kind of worked my way through it. So we kept everybody on the line. Pretty much everybody stayed except for 1 or 2, but everybody stayed to wait to hear from you. So it was encouraging to know that. I see there's another question that popped up.
Okay. If you have one late, Dr. Lisa Campbell, if you have one late payment on your account from 6 years ago, is it worth it to remove it? So the late payment, if it is that a 30-day late payment? If it's a 30-day late payment, it only affects you for 9 months, right? So your points have came back since then. So you don't want to remove that. You definitely don't want to remove account that you've had for 6 years or more. You definitely don't remove account, especially if it's open, because you'll lose the length of age of credit history on that account. So you definitely don't want to remove that account because you'll lose from it. And anybody considering consolidating, if you are considering consolidating, ask yourself this. Here are the pros and cons of consolidation. Let's say you have tons of student loan accounts. You've had them for over 15 years. It's been a while since you've been to school. And you decide, hey, I want to consolidate this. Well, what happens is the pros of consolidating is that you merge all accounts into just one, and you may pay a lower payment with a lower interest. The con is by consolidating those 10 plus year accounts that you have on your credit file, you lose all those accounts. They close all of those accounts. You lose up to 82.5 points on your credit score for the history section. And it makes one new account with 0 years in history. You got a new inquiry, as well as you may be paying longer on that debt because it's small payments. Instead of what you was paying before, which took like 20 to 25 years to pay off all of those accounts, when you made this new account, you may be paying for about 30 to 40, 50 years. And it restarts everything. So you definitely want to know, when you're consolidating, definitely take that into account. Do not delete or close accounts that are open and in good standing. You don't want to lose that history. Keep them open as long as possible. All right. The credit balance is 0, just one late payment. If the credit balance is 0, great. Also another tip, if you guys got credit cards that you don't use, continue to use them. Continue to use them. Even if you don't make purchases with them, find out what subscription services that you're subscribing to every month. Put that on the credit card and set up automatic pay so that you get the credit not only for that utilization, but you're paying it off in full. Because if you have a credit card that's not active, that you're not using, they can close it within those 18 months. 18 months of inactivity, they will automatically close your card. Mm-hmm. Now, it's different for some vendors. Some may close it if you haven't used it for 3 months. It just depends on who you're dealing with, right? So definitely use your credit cards. Keep them open as long as possible. That will be the determining factor when building the business credit. Can you explain what you mean by business funding? So business funding is simply applying for business loans, right? Business business funding is when you apply for business loans, is what I'm talking about, Brenda. So when you're applying for business loans, here's my link to set up a webinar, a one-on-one webinar with me, if you'd like. But definitely, yeah, these are great questions. You can do consultation if it is so. Is it at a cost? No, I don't charge initially right now. I will charge in the future because I'm seeing a lot of appointments, and I want to be able to get paid for my time eventually more so. But for now, there's no cost at all at this point in time. And on a personal note, if you do set up a consultation, I'll teach you how to set up your own funding source. I'll teach you how to use your life insurance on all your deals and all that. Yeah. Any other questions? These are great. These are great questions, by the way. So.
Okay, no more questions? All righty. So we, again, thank you, Mr. Jackson, for presenting this information. I think it was very helpful. And I would encourage each person that would like to speak to him to please reach out to him related to his services and what he offers. And then, I think the link that you shared is where somebody can actually set up an appointment to meet with you. So I encourage you to do that as well. And again, we appreciate each of you that stayed on with us to go through the presentation. As I shared in the beginning, we do have other workshops that we will be doing that are coming up. Next week, we'll have the financial literacy. Well, we're going to just kind of go through understanding financial literacy, understanding a bit of terminology, and then understanding some of the key things that you need to know about cash flow statements and things like that. So we're going to really do that next week. So if you want to register, just go to our website at www.gecdc.org and click on events, and all of our trainings are there, so you can register for that. Everything that we're doing, the workshops and everything, are free of charge. And we're going to send you out this is being recorded, so we'll send you out a link that is going to go to our recording once it uploads into the cloud. And we'll send that link to you. It'll be placed on our YouTube channel that we have, so you can kind of go back over and look at this again. Also, if you missed the first session, we'll send that link to you as well. So you'll have both the personal credit part 1 and part 2, and you can see both of them. And I think Mr. Jackson put something on the screen related to his survey. So he's asking that you actually complete his survey. So if you can write that down, his link for the survey, and fill that out. And I'll be sending out a link as well for the survey for this webinar, and also asking what other kind of workshops and things that you're looking for, because many times we can create or develop some and bring in our experts, so that then you can be able to ask questions like you did today. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Any other thoughts before we get off the line? Okay, wonderful. So again, we thank you for chiming in, and thank you for working with us this morning. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're asking everybody to stay safe and to stay in if you can, but definitely stay safe. Mr. Jackson is pulling up some information, so I'll stay on the line if you'd like to read through some of his profile information. But again, we appreciate you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.